welcome back to Here Be Dragons. I am your host, Stephen Stark. Joining me, as always, number one co-host, John Webster. Admiral Webster now. You were Captain Webster not too long ago, but the previous
Yeah,
Admiral, well, you got promoted, as it says.
yeah. I got promoted. We'll just leave it at that.
Right. We don't need to talk about the last guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, welcome everyone. So it is my birthday, and for my birthday, I decided I wanted to talk about my personal favorite movie of all time. So here we are.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. These two guys are freaking icons of my whole goddamn life. So I cannot wait to get into it. But first, it is in fact my birthday. Many of you have already told me happy birthday on Twitter or in our Slack group. A couple people have sent me texts. Thank you so much, everybody. It's always nice to feel the love on your birthday, and y'all came out of the woodwork for me. So much love to you all. I'm going to show off a couple of things I got. First and foremost, my good friend Lady Leaf Underhill sent me this T-shirt. It says, "Come to the nerd side. We have dragons and stuff." And this is maybe one of the most me T-shirts I've ever owned. I freaking love it. Thank you, Leaf. Yeah, fantastic. Also, my good friend Laura Petricelli sent me this Miles Morales graphic novel, and I cannot wait to get into it and read it. I'm not familiar with exactly what the story is, but I will be very soon. So thank you, Laura, for the graphic novel. She also sent a very lovely card with a kind of funny joke on it. I don't remember what it said off the top of my head, but something about a really happy lobster going to a hot tub party. It was cute. So thank you. Thanks to y'all. Had some fantastic tiramisu earlier. Got to watch my favorite movie again. Did you watch this today, John?
I did. I just finished watching about an hour ago. So
yeah, I probably finished about an hour ago myself. But
well, it's like normally I would have watched the night before, but something was keeping me busy last night. Can't think of what it was.
Yeah, we'll get into that at the mid-roll. I'll let you plug the insanity that was going on last night. Kate says she just finished a rewatch herself. Yeah, what an excuse to go back and watch. Okay, I see you, CC. You know what you want to talk about next month? When is your birthday? You need to let me know. Because maybe I have a really excellent idea of something you could do for your birthday, depending on what exact days in January it is. But also, we're here to talk about this movie, though, not my birthday.
But
I will say, early on in the chat, in the live chat down below, Kate dropped my favorite quote from any Star Wars movie. This is my favorite thing Yoda ever says. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. And God, it hit me when I watched it today too. So yeah, it had been too long since I've seen this film. It's probably been 5 years, maybe. So yeah,
I'm shocked to hear that, Stephen.
Oh, by the way, January 9th, that Cece, I'll contact you. We follow each other on Instagram. I'll get with you on Instagram and let you know the deets, because I got something fun to do on your birthday.
I will say, it was an absolute pleasure to go back and watch this because in the modern era of Star Wars fandom, there's all this other stuff that gets thrown at us, and a lot of that is the contentiousness between fans, but also what's the new show coming out? How do you feel about the latest trilogy and all that stuff? And it was really nice just to go back to good old classic Star Wars, especially, Empire, which, is generally regarded as the best one. And I can't say that I would ever argue with that assessment.
I wouldn't either. This is okay. I've said it many times. There are no perfect movies, except this one.
I have just a select couple I would add to that list. But I will.
There are other films that I hold in very, very, very high regard. Some of them we've already covered on the channel. You want to watch me gush about a movie, go watch the Into the Spider-Verse conversation. But yeah, this movie is, it's my oldest, favoritist movie. It's the first movie I remember actually seeing in the theater. I know I saw other films in the theater before this, but I don't remember them. But this one, and it changed my life, man. Like, Luke Skywalker becomes the full-blown, he continues the hero's journey, that classic hero's journey throughout this film. And it's the dark part. It's the big struggle. It's the passing through the underworld bit,
Yeah, I think Guilty nails it right here. This is a movie that I've gained like several new levels of appreciation for as I've gotten older, and I love that. Yeah, we're actually going to talk about that.
We are,
but yeah. It's just great because I was just thinking that I was pulling out some of like my old VHS tapes and stuff, and I still have a few of those, and wow. just remembering watching them on like the TV in my first house here in Florida, or maybe not quite the first house, but one of the first places I lived here in Florida, and just to think that how far back, my love of Star Wars goes, and the fact that you can't really say that about many movies, that they genuinely stick with you as you go through your life. And these films absolutely are in that category.
Yeah, I tweeted today and basically told Mark Hamill, you're my hero and have been my whole life. It's my birthday. I want to gush about my favorites. So here we are. Okay, realistically, this film is not perfect. No film is. I can always make some kind of criticism. Like,
but there's technically perfect, and there's perfect right here.
Exactly. Like, in my heart of hearts, I wouldn't change anything. Although there are still some things that on this watch through, I was just like, have you ever noticed how Harrison Ford really likes to point at things and people when he's talking to them?
Yeah, but like, some of those are just so great. I love the point with no words that he does to 3PO, where he's just like
yeah, but or like I kind of told myself a joke while I was watching it. They pull up on Bespin for the first time, and Lando's like, well, what do we have here? And I was like, it's a woman. I know you don't see too many of those, but that is in fact a woman, sir.
Yeah, there's only like 3 or 4 in the galaxy,
right?
At least at this point in the timeline.
I love that there's some confusion in the chat because Cecilia and Mrs. Duncan the Tall are Ceci and Cece.
Oh, okay.
Good stuff. But yeah, okay. So, you know me, I don't go chronologically. I just talk about the parts that really, really like ring true to me. But this whole thing is just so good. that I might have to follow some kind of format and go start to finish. Maybe I'll break it up into like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3.
But this is also a movie that like you can just gush about, like, you know, just sort of, you know, go around to different parts of the movie and just be like, oh, but isn't this great? Oh, and that was super great, and that was great. So
and that was great, and it was great, and it was great. And I'm not just going to sit here and say, oh, I loved this and I loved that, but I mean, I'll do that also. But I want to like actually talk about, because there's the sort of themes and the visual storytelling of this movie are all so good.
Yeah, I mean, like, it starts with and as much as, like, you know, as Star Wars fans, we kind of like to get on George Lucas's case a bit, but this is, you know, back in the absolute prime of Star Wars, and his storytelling abilities were fantastic. So first of all due credit to him, but also I want to say Irvin Kershner just deserves, you know, all the credit in the world for directing a masterful, you know, motion picture. And there's so much, you want to talk about, you know, technical stuff, just the way things are framed and shot and edited. Like, it's just, I mean, there's a reason why, like, you know, we're Star Wars fans. We're going to love Star Wars movies, but like Empire in particular is an absolute like science fiction classic in just the way it's constructed, and the fact that it's the one that really has such a phenomenal sense of humor, even though it's dark and foreboding. One of my favorite parts is when, you know, they don't have light speed and Han is trying to fix it, and, you know, he has Chewie bring him like the pan of tools.
It's the hydro spanners. He needs the hydro spanners.
Okay. And and then they get hit by an asteroid and it comes crashing down on him. He's like, ow!
Yep.
It's just brilliant.
Or like right before that, it's not my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I mean, Han has a lot of opportunity to be the comic relief in this, but like he's not relegated to being the comic relief.
Yeah, it's something very special about the way it's pulled off in this one, because it is also the darkest, you know, of the trilogy, and so it's amazing to me that it has such a wonderful sense of humor in spite of that. It's a wonderful mixture, and like all those comedic moments come from like natural character. You know, it's not like let's throw a bunch of jokes in this one. It's just a natural result of the characters being who they are.
Being who they are. Han has a quippy kind of sense of humor, and yeah, he's a little bit arrogant, but I love it. I love it. I almost don't know where to start. You know.
Well, we can.
I'm seeing so much conversation in the chat too. Somebody said something about who was it that said it? Oh yeah, Slasher Fred said the scene when Luke first encounters Yoda and first thinks that he's just an old hermit in the swamp, and is very similar to the original when Ben is revealed to be Obi-Wan. Yes, and that I believe is very intentional. Again, George Lucas has said so many times Star Wars is supposed to rhyme with itself. It's another verse in the same song. So there should be a lot of parallels or inverse parallels. Luke starts in the driest planet in freaking galaxy and ends up in this movie on the dampest planet in the galaxy. No, I don't know. Camino might be wetter, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, but at this point, like, Camino is like a far off.
Yeah. Like, it don't exist yet.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, my perspective on these movies remains like, as much as I respect various people, including Lucas himself, trying to expand this out into a larger saga. When I watch these movies, you know, I'm watching the story of Luke Skywalker told over 3 movies, and so I tend to keep most of that other stuff out. But yeah, it's funny because I don't remember the very first time I saw any of these movies, but I do remember the feeling of watching Yoda appear and being like, what is this little thing? So I do remember the experience of like slowly finding out that it was Yoda and being like, whoa. I just don't remember when that was. but that's, I think that's what's great. You sort of like inherently have like emotional memories of things, even if you were way too young. I will say the one thing I genuinely don't remember, and this kind of bums me out a little bit, is I don't remember my initial reaction to the, I am your father.
Yeah,
I've just kind of always known that, and
I do remember my initial reaction. I actually thought he was lying.
Yeah, there's a great moment in the documentary Empire of Dreams when James Earl Jones is about it. Exact same response. He's like, they told me what he said, and I was like, oh, he's lying.
Right. But he's not lying.
Yeah. Because who would think that Obi-Wan wouldn't tell Luke the truth?
But like it is poignant to say that moment might be what makes the whole film. I mean, the whole thing is great. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But that moment, I mean, it lives on in legend now. Everybody knows, Luke, I am your father, which is not the real quote. BT dubs. Actually, it's no, I am your father, because he's responding to Luke saying that he killed his father.
Which is so funny because everybody says, Luke, I am your father. And
well, it's because you can say I am your father and it doesn't mean anything, but if you say Luke, I am your father, it transports you to Star Wars.
Yeah.
So like if you're gonna misquote it, it's being misquoted the right way. You know how we do around here, Aaron. You know how we do. Man, the chat is jumping tonight. I can't keep up. But
no, I mean, if you want to follow acts, like the movie starts off on Hoth, we get the Imperial probe droid dropping down to the planet.
Yeah, and you get that classic crawl, which has one piece of misinformation in it, by the way. It says that they're a group of rebel. I'm old, y'all. Getting old. Stuff starts not working like it used to. It says that they are led by Luke Skywalker. He's not really the leader. There's a general, and you've got Leia, and I would think they're the leaders. But anyway.
Yeah, I always kind of.
I'm just going to flash this up on the screen again real quick if I can find it.
I always took that as like
right there,
as if these crawls are kind of like news broadcasts going out, kind of basically what they did in Clone what they did in Clone Wars, which was the way they adapted the opening crawl, was having the guy going Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano, off to a mission, that type of thing, and so it's almost like because Luke has destroyed the Death Star, like his profile has risen, so they're like making the most of that. But you're absolutely right. In reality, he is not. He is not the leader.
I'm just saying, her name is Leia Organa. Put some respect on it.
Yeah. So strange that back in the 80s they weren't giving women credit.
Yeah. Well,
I'm shocked by that.
And honestly, Leia, there's a time or two in this film where she screams in fear and falls over, but she's nowhere near she's not a damsel in distress.
Mm-hmm.
There are moments where she is in distress, but she is not a damsel. So I'll give it to her. Besides, that's Carrie Fisher, and nobody better ever say anything bad about that woman.
Yeah.
Because I, as a young boy, identified as Luke, which is why I never there are people who Leia is part of their sexual awakening. And fair talk to you, but that's my sister. I'm not interested in that way. But I love the woman. I love her to death. Both Leia and Carrie were fantastic. People you could look up to.
Yeah, I'm always gonna be extremely bitter that we didn't get you know, and I'm not gonna drag this into thoughts about any of the sequel films, but given that that final film was supposed to be like with her as like really leading the charge on it and being the sort of not necessarily like the total focal point, because that of course would have been Rey, but but anchoring that film emotionally for the older generation. And so it's I'm always really bummed that
Yeah.
we didn't get to have that.
Yeah, we'll just have to celebrate what we did get.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carrie, and you were awesome in this. By the way.
Yeah.
The two guys, they were good. Don't get me wrong, they were good. But love you, Carrie. Miss you.
We get a Cheers alumni in this movie in the Hoth sequence.
Do we?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, John Ratzenberger.
Yeah.
He did it for just like a hot second.
Which always cracks me up. Because I'm trying to think, this would have been before Cheers, right?
Yeah, I mean, this was probably filmed. It came out in 1980, probably filmed in 79. I think Cheers was early 80s.
Yeah,
like 82.
So it wouldn't have been noticeable to anybody like seeing it at the time. But in retrospect, I'm like, hey, it's Cliff
Clavin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Also, Grandmaster Pycelle leading the ground troops.
Yeah, which it's so funny that we come to that point, because when I was little, it was like, oh, the villain from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yeah.
And now it's like, no, it's Grandmaster Pycelle. Which was so cool, because I went to Star Wars Celebration in, I think, 2010. And so I got to like sort of celebrate both ends of that, where I had known him as an actor, growing up from both Star Wars and Indiana Jones, but he had also been announced to play Grandmaster Pycelle in Game of Thrones, which I had already been reading. And so it was really cool getting to meet him at that point in time. Just, going, knowing him from one set of fandoms and getting ready to celebrate another. I even got a picture with him, so that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Yeah. So Hoth, the whole, okay. I'm not trying to do a real review of this movie. Everybody's seen this, and if you haven't, just go watch it. It's my favorite movie of all time. You probably ought to watch Star Wars first if you haven't seen that, the original. Episode 4, aka A New Hope. Yeah, this is the one.
You may not have seen these movies. They're really old movies, Stephen.
Yes. Don't believe me? Ask Peter Parker in the MCU. You guys ever see that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back? I love that. It was so funny.
I was getting a little too serious about it last night, but yeah. No, I love Hoth, and I think, and a part of that I think is because I also have memories of playing the video game Shadows of the Empire, and there was a part of that game where you got to, play the Battle of Hoth, and it had the John Williams music and everything, as you got to take down the walkers and stuff. So
yeah, I just remember as a kid, like, the AT-ATs were cool. I mean, maybe I should be calling them AT-ATs at this point, but like as a kid, they were AT-ATs. This is what they were, and they were the coolest thing. And I thought the way that the snow speeders wrapped cables around them was just brilliant genius. I mean, in hindsight, 47-year-old Stephen looks at that and goes, Wouldn't it be better to just have like a low to the ground tank transport? Like, what's the benefit here? I'm not really getting the, but it looks cool. That's what it is. The rule of cool applies.
Oh, well, I do have to take a moment here for you guys in the Slack who don't know. This is just a really geeky thing that I did. The Slack channel for television shows. It's called Telly Telly Telly, which was a play on the song from Cheers, Kelly Kelly Kelly.
Oh,
that what's his name? Woody Harrelson sings. So if that if it means anything to anybody, but I was in the middle of a Cheers rewatch at that time. So.
Okay. I mean, I've seen plenty of it. It's been a long time. It was never my show.
There's some parts that haven't aged well, but it's still fun. Anyway, yeah, Empire Strikes Back.
But yeah, Empire Strikes Back. I also thought the snowtroopers were just so much cooler looking than regular stormtroopers. Don't get me wrong, regular stormtroopers I thought were cool too. I always thought that the Empire had the coolest looking stuff. But yeah, the snowtroopers with they seem even more faceless than regular stormtroopers.
Well, it's interesting. Like they were, we just, saw that Boba Fett documentary, and they were talking about originally the Boba Fett design was going to be like a new class of stormtroopers, and I kind of wondered where they possibly meant for the Hoth sequence. They didn't really address that, but obviously they were going for different kinds of stormtroopers and different looks and stuff. And yeah, I like them. I love, when they're entering the rebel base, and especially with Vader coming through, where like, they're blowing stuff up and he comes through with the Imperial March. Dum, 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 dum. It's just, which by the way, like we're 27 minutes in and we haven't said the name John Williams.
But bless you, sir. There's so many things to love about this movie, but George Lucas himself has said that John Williams is the secret sauce that makes Star Wars great. It really is. I mean, all the way back to the first film, Luke staring at the twin suns and that, really gentle force beam playing. The Imperial March in this is just, I mean, it's perfect. It's perfect for the scene.
Yeah, as much as like, I love all the Star Wars movies, and especially the original, but there is something about the first one doesn't have the Imperial March, and like, for me, like Vader is Vader when he's got the Imperial March backing him up, and like, and what's remarkable about that piece of music is it's just as, if not more, like recognizable than the original Star Wars theme. Because you play that and like everybody knows Darth Vader's theme.
Right. It's called the Imperial March, but it is Vader's theme. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, the soundtrack does say Darth Vader's theme in parentheses.
Okay. Fair enough.
So I'm able to get away with that.
I'm trying to keep up with the chat, and it's impossible.
It's a good thing, though, Steven.
Right, it is. But yeah, fun fact: the Tauntauns, the like lizards that they ride around on, the two-legged lizards that Han and Luke are both riding at different points. They make a sound. That noise that a Tauntaun makes, I swear to God, they recorded my dog Xander when he gets feisty, playful. He makes a sound that is identical. I can't make it the noise, but the sound a Tauntaun makes. My dog Xander has made that sound many times. He's a bit old now. I haven't heard him make it in a while, but yeah, it used to crack me up.
Guilty just made a reference to the Family Guy parody of the Star Wars stuff, and I was thinking several times while I was watching this movie that like I could not not think of, you know,
Oh yeah, me too.
something dark side, which is the Family Guy episode.
And the robot chicken stuff that they did, and it's just been parodied so many times.
Yeah, it's like when Han cuts open the tauntaun, and like I'm just hearing Peter go, and I thought they smelt bad on the outside.
Yeah, the Family Guy has always had that gag where they just have too much dead time.
Yeah.
See, Aaron agrees with me. Robot Chicken is the best one.
Yeah,
They're apparently reptomammals.
Anyway. Yeah, I'm much more knowledgeable about Family Guy than I am Robot Chicken, so that's why I know that better.
Well, if you've seen it, it's hilarious too. But yeah, do love me some Robot Chicken. Do like some Family Guy too. Also Spaceballs. Yeah, Spaceballs is basically a whole movie riffing on at least the first film. Well, no, because they got yogurt, so you got to get through this one too. Yeah, and again, like when I was a kid, I really loved this film adaptation that they did of the Pirates of Penzance. It was just called Pirates. And there's literally Star Wars reference in that.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about, Kelly, but I'm here for it. It all tastes the same. What else about Hoth is awesome? Okay, I have a legitimate question. Okay, you know me. Whenever I question the military tactics all the time, like what's going on here? Why did they deploy infantry and have them actually stand and fight? Was it just to give the AT-ATs something to shoot at?
I don't know, slow them down.
Don't think they got slowed down too much.
Well, yeah, but they were still maybe trying to slow. I didn't say they succeeded.
Right. Anyway, bad call. I mean, I like that they had entrenched positions and fortified positions, but like once you saw the AT-ATs, just leave.
I mean, they're probably studying old clone battle plans.
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
No, I will say what's great about this whole sequence is that it's basically inverting what Star Wars did, which is they're having, the big, huge climactic, battle up front in the movie. I mean, Star Wars has, some action at the beginning of the film, but as far as like this is a full on big battle.
The big battle is at the beginning.
Yeah, and that frees them then up to dive into intimate character stories throughout the rest of the film. Until, we get the lightsaber battle at the end.
Yeah, but even that, like, there's like a running battle through the hallways with Leia and Chewbacca and the one-on-one lightsaber duel, but it's not a large-scale pitched battle the way Hoth is.
Mm-hmm.
The Wampa is a very cool monster in Star Wars lore. Very scary. Scared me when I was a kid.
Yeah, which when we get into like that's the first major, like not major, but it's the first noticeable difference between the different editions of the movie. You see more of the Wampa in the special edition. Not a surprise to you, and I'm sure not a shock to anybody watching this. I'm in favor of the original version because I think it's a bit. Sometimes what you don't see is scarier, in my opinion. So I think it builds up the tension by like you hear the noise of the Wampa in the back, and I think that kind of builds up the suspense. But I'll admit, when I was cool, I was like, oh, cool, we get to see more of the monster.
Right. Like, I'm with you. George has made several changes to these films over the years. And in general, I prefer the original of almost everything. We were talking last night. There are select changes that I really do think are good. Things that I approve of that change and that change. Like it's probably 15% of the changes made. Um, but none of them are in this. Well, yeah, like you do get to see a little bit more of the Wampa, and it is a stunningly horrifying creature.
Yeah, I like. It's not one of the ones that makes me like upset or anything. I think that's sort of just a change of like if Lucas had time to do more with the Wampa in 1980, he would have. So I think that's a perfectly understandable change.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, cool. Because I know in general, you're probably less of a fan of the changes even than I am.
Oh, I am. I prefer the original. I'm just saying, like, that's not on the level of like adding a bunch of goofy creatures to like Moss Eisley and Han, the Han Greedo thing and all that. Like, it's one of the. I actually find that Empire Strikes Back on the whole has like the least objectionable changes.
I think that's also. I think I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, and even though maybe you want to save this for later, but we were talking about the change to the Emperor scene, and even though personally I prefer the original in all things, but at the same time, like if you're going to change something to update the movie, that is an obvious change to put Ian McDiarmid in there. So like even if I don't really prefer that version of the scene, it's still like completely understandable and doesn't come off to me as, oh, that was a silly change. Why on earth would they do that?
Right.
It makes
it's not like
yeah.
It's not like they put a bunch of animals in the foreground just walking back and forth in front of the speeder so you can't actually see the heroes.
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking about anything in particular. What do you mean? Another change, like, obviously, is that I don't remember the name of the original actor and he's passed, but Tamura Morrison does the voice for come on, Boba Fett.
Boba Fett. I will say that like that I both understand it, but I also am not a fan of it because I think that the delivery of the original actor is more menacing.
Okay.
So I actually I again prefer the original version of that. But like for most modern Star Wars fans, like they're obviously going to prefer Tamura Morrison to do the voice of Boba Fett across all the films, especially now.
Yeah.
I mean, with him reclaiming the role with, The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah. Well, it's Boba Fett's on the rise again. So I didn't hate hearing Tamura Morrison. And again, it's been a few years since I've seen, 3 or 4 years since I've seen this movie. I've seen it over 100 times. I guarantee it. But a lot of those times were in the 80s. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't hate it. I didn't hate hearing him. I've come to really love him. But again, Clone Wars, Rex, which is not Tamura Morrison, but it is a voice actor doing a Tamura Morrison impersonation.
Yeah.
So that voice just echoes in my ear now. And Mandalorian last season was awesome. So yeah, I didn't hate it. Did not hate that change.
Yeah, I think if I had watched the special edition for this viewing, I probably actually would have been a lot more positive about it than I have in the past, just because I have much more of an emotional connection Tamara Morrison now in that role, and like you said, by extension, everything that D. Bradley Baker has done in animation, which is basically a Tamara Morrison.
Is that D. Bradley Baker that does the clones?
Yeah.
Really?
I thought you knew that.
Well, I probably did, and just like, because like
the man of many talents,
voice of Appa and Momo as well. Several other character voices on Avatar: The Last Airbender, but yeah,
he's an absolute genius with the sheer variety of things he's able to do. No, that was also why on one of the streams, I forget if it was for, I think actually it was for Avatar, where I, put like John voiced by D. Bradley Baker, because he can do anything.
He can. Okay, so let's turn this back to Empire Strikes Back. Hoth, first, third of the movie. We get some Wedge in there, which love me some Wedge. Great character. I'm really glad that actor has kind of come around the last few years to embrace the fandom. There was a long, long time where he didn't want anything to do with it, but I think he's finally reached that point in his life where he has that realization that he gives people such positivity, that he was a part of something that people truly love and cherish, and who wouldn't want to be a part of that?
Yeah. We also get poor Dak, who, feels like he can bite off a bit more.
I feel like he could take on the whole Empire myself. Hey, do you hear that, everybody? Dak says he could take on the whole Empire by himself. Go get him, buddy.
Oh, God.
Yep. That's from the Family Guy one, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure that we have to spend that much more time on Hoth, because there's a lot of other movie.
There really is.
But, yeah. But of course, like, we haven't really even talked about the great banter between Han and Leia, and the Hoth stuff.
Their chemistry is so good.
I mean, and we get the classic scruffy looking nerf herder,
and laugh it up, fuzzball. Like those lines are so iconic to me.
Yeah. I'd just as soon kiss a Wookiee. I could arrange that. Use a good kiss.
Oh yeah. Honestly, there were parts also, because do you ever watch BLR on YouTube, bad lip reading?
No, but I know of it.
Like, yeah, they've got movies, or not movies, they got songs where like Yoda is singing and whatnot. So every time one of the sort of video clips that they would use in one of their videos would come on, I would hear the music in my head. Run, 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 jump. I could be a backpack while you run. Just, I loved it. I love this movie so much, y'all. Okay, I'm trying to, I'm all over the place. Hoth. Anything else to say about Hoth?
No, I'm just trying to segue us to Han, getting Leia out on the Falcon, and then them being pursued by the Empire. Which, by the way, I am always amazed by the effects work when they show the Millennium Falcon fleeing from the Empire. Those shots of and it's the editing too, because it's like they've got Han at the controls, and he's doing something like this, and then you cut to the ship doing this big dip and spin. It all feels so full of weight, and even though you're watching a movie, it kind of feels like you're on a roller coaster ride with the Falcon. And And it's amazing to think, if you looked at the original Star Wars, especially the original version, and looked at the visual effects in the Death Star battle at the end of that film, and then looked at the effects work that they pull off in Empire, it's amazing how far they came
in just 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, it helps that they didn't have to sort of invent the brand new techniques that they did from the first movie. And you can still tell some of it's stop motion. Tauntauns and AT-ATs there's a lot of stop motion work going on there. The slug, asteroid slug thing is stop motion, but it's pretty slick. But you're right. Some of those runs where they're making it, where you're inside the cockpit and you're making an attack run on an AT-AT, like, I think I could figure out how it's done, but it's still incredible what they pulled off, as you say.
Yeah.
Because it's not VFX. It's not CGI. I guess it is VFX. It's not CGI. That's all real in-camera work.
Yeah, I think back then it would have just been appropriately called special effects rather than visual effects.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Which again, I'm going back into unnecessary pedantry.
Hey, man, that's what we're here for. Yeah, Kelly, you told me before that the Millennium Falcon was built in Wales, and that's the day I decided I don't hate Wales anymore.
Oh, I was going to say, you're going to say you don't like the Millennium Falcon anymore,
No,
Steve?
No. Like, that's when I made a quick 180, erased all the past 1984 style, and was like, good, I've always liked Wales. Okay, so, but yes, I was really struck by the space flight of the Millennium Falcon after the escape from Hoth. Just like that hard 90 they take and turn down when they're being chased. Like, God, what a scene. What an iconic shot, too. And as you say, it feels weighty. It feels physical.
Yeah, and the thing is, because like, as much as like, okay, I'm here going on like, I prefer the original theatrical versions of these movies. Like, I do remember when I was first really into Star Wars, like as like a super fan, was the special editions that came out in '97, and I remember sort of assuming that some of that stuff with Millennium Falcon, especially that dip down and stuff, was like a new visual effect shots that they added. And I remember like the first time I went back to the older versions and realized that no, they had pulled that stuff off in 1980 or whenever. I was like, holy crap, they were just really doing amazing work. Yeah,
it's really good. I can't say enough good about it. Like, Han, Leia, Chewie, C-3PO are kind of off on one part, and Luke and R2 are off somewhere else. Let's focus on Han and Leia first, and then maybe we'll pick up with Luke after the mid-roll or something.
I want to say, like, I cannot say enough things about how much I love 3PO in this movie.
It's so good.
He's so great. Good. And they bring in the whole thing with, him calculating the odds in this movie, which it's used to great comedic effect. And at one point he's starts listing off the odds, and in the middle of the like action sequence, and Leia's just like, shut up.
Yeah. Another thing that struck me, and this is across the whole film, was how, everybody always says it feels lived in, Star Wars feels lived in. Part of what makes it feel lived in is that when we're with a character and we see them walk into the room isn't waiting for them to arrive. Han is talking to 3PO when Leia walks in. There's already a conversation happening. Yeah. It's not just waiting for a character to appear, and it makes it feel so much more real. Yeah. And I don't know if that's the script. I don't know if that's Irving Kershner, or I don't know if that's George's wife. I mean, obviously it is to some degree his wife. She was the editor on this film. But yeah, I really appreciated, because I was watching with a little more critical eye than I normally would. I wasn't just, yay, I love this movie. I was trying to intellectualize things. I really appreciated that aspect. And it's a small thing, but it makes it feel real and genuine.
Yeah, I think there's when Leia notices the Minox on the ship, and she comes into the room, and I think Han and 3PO are just having a conversation where, he's like, if I might venture an opinion, and he's like, I'm not really interested in your opinions, 3PO.
Yeah.
And you just imagine that they've been having this sort of back and forth.
Exactly.
And this is what you're walking into.
You get it?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I missed it because the chat moved. Just wanted to say, Justin, that's a very sweet thing for you to say. I will let my little brother know you said that.
Oh, hush now, Stephen.
So there's not a whole lot of plot development that goes on there.
Well, a lot of it
running and they're in danger, but like it's still fun, and you do get those character moments with Han and Leia.
Like it's all about getting them
Scoundrel. Oh, what a delivery too! Like he's chewing up the scenery right there, and I love it.
It's funny because I've had so many different perspectives on this, because when you're a kid, you do kind of idolize Han because he's a hero, and and so the fact when he's like scoundrel, you're kind of like, no, this is an awesome guy. And then as I've gotten older, I totally see from Leia's perspective where, part of her really is like this effing guy. But it's great to see that character development, how in spite of him being a scoundrel and and not necessarily not necessarily always being he's a stand-up guy, but you know what I mean, just kind of irritable sometimes. Irritating.
Good for sure.
But just seeing the development throughout this movie, how they draw closer together, and the way you chip away pieces of his armor, so to speak,
and hers too. And it is really fun to watch those two bounce off of each other. I mean, they had good chemistry in the first film, but in this movie, if they're playing I have the hots for you, but Han's reaction to it is, it's not so much, I mean, he has the hots for her, don't get me wrong, but is, oh, come on, you have the hots for me. And her reaction is she's got the hots for him, but she's like, ugh, I don't have time for you. You're not a nice man. Yeah, you're right. He's not a nice man, but he was also right when he said you need some more scoundrels in your life.
Yeah, and then it comes back around where, he's talking about Lando, and he's like, scoundrel, you'd like him.
I think this is a legit question. Does Han count as a reluctant hero?
Yeah.
I think maybe early on he does. Like in the first film. By this point, I think he's pretty much ready to play the hero part, but he knows he's like the whole film, he's just trying to go get Jabba paid off.
I'd say throughout, he goes through different stages of a hero's journey, because you could argue that he's a reluctant hero throughout the first film, but then by coming back to help Luke, he steps into the role of hero. But even in this movie, he's, his concern becomes to save his own neck when he says, I have to leave and pay off Jabba the Hutt. But the thing is, he doesn't necessarily want to leave. It's just he feels it's a necessity.
Well, he could literally be endangering other people if he doesn't too.
Yeah.
He's got to go get Jabba paid off so that there aren't bounty hunters and stuff looking for him.
But the thing is, like, he says that, but when the Empire's attacking, his main priority immediately switches to making sure that Leia is okay.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I was going to say he's still kind of a reluctant hero in this one, but I don't necessarily think so. I think, you know, I don't think he's like going, you know, adopting the mantle of I'm a hero, you know, but he's doing his actions are heroic.
Yeah, and not just for Leia, but for Luke also. He's like, I'm going to get on my Tauntaun. I'm going to ride out into the night time of Hoth because Luke is out there and I am not leaving him alone. That's a goddamn hero and not a reluctant one at that point. He's got other stuff going on that he's got to take care of. But my belief is that had he been able to just go pay off Jabba, he'd come back and continue the fight.
Yeah, it's interesting. Before we start talking about this, I would have considered him still a reluctant hero in this film, but I think I've actually changed my mind. I don't think he's a reluctant hero in Empire anymore. So, yeah. So I'd say he is in Star Wars, but by the end of Star Wars, I think he stepped into the role of hero. Yeah. But also like his journey now, like we've seen his journey start further back with Solo, a Star Wars story. So like getting to the point at the end of the first Star Wars is like the culmination of a long journey that the character goes on.
Okay, I will address the Luke and Leia Targaryen moment. All right. So I don't think it's cringe, but it's not as bad as y'all make it out because there's no real passion behind it. Leia kisses Luke in that moment because she's trying to make Han jealous and no other reason. Not because she's into Luke, but because she's actually into Han, but she's annoyed at him.
I'll tell you why I'm not like, I'm not usually that grossed out by this because it doesn't really seem to me, regardless of what he may have said in retrospect, that the intention was there for them to be brother and sister at this point in the story.
Right.
Like,
well, and the thing is, like, Sean is saying it makes him uncomfortable because of the way Luke revels in it, but I think Luke's just having a fun, like, haha at his friend. I really read that as there is no sexiness involved in that scene at all.
Yeah, but I think you might just be saying that because of what you know comes afterwards. I mean, like, if you're looking at Empire on its own, like without knowing what comes in Return of the Jedi, I think Luke is very much enjoying that moment because he's showing up his competition in that moment, and you know he just got a kiss from the girl. I maintain, like I said, I don't think that the Luke Leia, you know, brother sister thing was intended at this point. So
Eric the Undertaker has a really succinct way of putting the thought we were just having about Han being a reluctant hero. Says Han starts out doing heroic things to pay off Jabba, but by this point in Empire, he wants to pay off Jabba so he can get back to being a hero.
Yeah,
and that's a very satisfying character development for him. You can trust no George not to give you incest. That's true.
I mean, honestly, though, after all these years of Game of Thrones, y'all just should be
right
used to this shit by now.
And they're not Targaryens. They don't have white hair, yellow hair.
So we're an hour in. Do you want to?
I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say about sort of like Han? And there's more things to be said. Han and Leia. That half of the middle section of the story. That's where we also get our first real look at Boba Fett in the entire series, which is fantastic. Oh, you got all those bounty hunters, Bosk and IG-88.
I just love that. So like all a bunch of these guys had fandoms sprout around them just by, looking intimidating in the scene, because we've gotten to see more of like Bosk through, like, I'm sure, like, even if I don't know about it, I'm sure he was in lots of expanded universe stuff, and then he's been in Clone Wars. And obviously IG-88 has a huge fan base, and we got another IG droid for The Mandalorian who was
Taika
just
Waititi's IG-11,
fantastic.
which is great. But I also really love there's a great moment between Leia and Han, right kind of at the end of their section of this section of the movie, where they're gonna float away, and Han's explaining the plan to her, and she's like, "You have your moments. You don't have many of them, but you do have them." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's my dude right there." Oh, so funny. Like, their chemistry is just so good. Were just such great actors. And
we kind of went by it, but the whole sequence with the asteroids is just phenomenal. And speaking of their chemistry, I love when they're going in, and he's like, she says, "You're not actually going into an asteroid field," and he says, "They'd be crazy to follow us, wouldn't they?" And her response is, "You don't have to do this to impress me."
Right.
And again, John Williams, like, he has a theme for the asteroid field, and that's actually a lot of what I really love about these original Star Wars scores. His music for the franchise has been great across the board, but something, and I think it was because of the time in which these movies were made, and filmmakers wanted different things from composers back then. What John Williams was able to do was to craft themes around like situations and places. So the fact that the journey through the asteroid field has its own theme that doesn't appear anywhere else except for as they're going through the asteroids, it's really remarkable. And of course, then that music was also used for the Star Tours ride, because there's sections of that where it's either asteroids or some kind of like, I think, spiky ice things that you're trying to dodge on that ride. And so, I mean, I absolutely love that portion of the film just for the music itself. And yeah, again, just me going on and on about how much John Williams stuff is fantastic.
I mean, I don't hate it. He's probably the greatest living movie composer we have. There are others out there who are fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I think James Horner and Ramin Djawadi and Michael Giacchino are all fantastic composers, but like,
yeah,
they're all trying to catch up to John Williams.
Well, I will say, in the case of James Horner, he actually did pass away a number of years ago. Which
throw Howard Shore in there too.
Yeah. And the thing is, they're all like fantastic composers, but I don't think the person I would put up with John Williams as far as like that generation of composers would have been Jerry Goldsmith, who has also passed away, right, I think back in 2004. But for me, he was like at that same level. He had a bit of a different style, but yeah, as far as like, if you wanted classic music, and like, it was either going to be John Williams or
bombastic and uplifting, and like he knows how to pull on your heartstrings. Yeah, John Williams writes maybe the best themes.
Yeah, and it's, obviously, yeah, everybody knows that, like, I love my classical orchestral style, and there is nobody who does that like John Williams.
Yeah.
I watched the whole end credits of the movie today just because I was waiting for that big triumphant build up to the end.
I didn't do. I listened to I watched the whole credits.
Yeah.
I gave everybody who worked on this film their due.
Yeah.
But also John Williams. Like you got it because John Williams was there, honestly. In the mood for some orchestral pizza. That's an inside joke from our Zoom, and it will never die, and I don't want it to.
Nope.
Okay, so we've been a little over an hour. Should we do a mid-roll now?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
And if there's something from the past part of the movie that you think of, whatever. We'll talk about it. So, yeah, mid-roll. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please remember to hit the like button. It looks sort of like this. The subscribe button if you're not subscribed. And, yeah, come back next week for Here Be Dragons. John, you're not going to be here next week.
I am not. I'm going to be on vacation.
It's just going to be me and Nessie. Still don't know what we're going to do exactly. There's been talk about maybe covering a Marvel movie. It'll be the perfect time because John gets physically ill whenever somebody mentions the MCU. So after a whole 2 hours of it, exactly. Like he would not be able to chew it back for 2 hours. So we'll see. I don't know, but it'll be something. But yeah, it'll just be me and Nessie next week. And so next week, no John on Here Be Dragons. Also, no John Webster film stream next week.
Yeah, but I feel like I did enough last night to cover at least 2 weeks.
So as mentioned near the top, and as has been alluded to in the chat a couple of times, John, what did you do yesterday?
Yeah, so I had a few friends on the channel for what ended up being a 5.5 hour stream on Peter Jackson's The Hobbit trilogy. We had Dan, voice of Geekdom, Aaron, Cecilia from Geek Sterlia, Carol Brown, and we also had Kelly joined us. And yeah, it's probably the most laughter that there's ever been on on my channel because we spent a bunch of time just kind of good-naturedly ripping apart some elements of the movies, but also celebrating the good stuff in there too. But if anybody has ever wanted to see me not be completely positive, you absolutely got your wish last night.
Look, it was a great stream. It was just 3 times longer than I would have wanted to go, but I wasn't there. So, I listened to the whole thing. That's not entirely true.
See, this makes it all worth it though. Honestly, like I know, like I can't imagine who's going to go back and watch, definitely not watch all of it, but
there was the odd pearl in there.
It was fun. I said it last night, like all that really mattered to me was getting together with my friends, both the people who were on there with me and in the chat, and just having a good fun time. So and we succeeded in that, so that's all that matters to me.
Right. Dan is correct. You that's a new record for you, like length of time you've streamed. Also the most times people have said the word testicles in one of your streams. Probably. I didn't do a full count, but
and it just kept coming back. It wouldn't die.
Yeah. Anyway, I had a great time listening in. I was in and out of the chat, but I had you in my ear the whole time.
I loved when you kept coming back. You're like, Jesus Christ, you're still going. Oh, it was so much fun.
Yeah, so let me make sure I get the Patreon shout outs too. Like, just because it's my birthday doesn't mean like these are the real heroes of this are our patrons. You guys, we love you all. Our Patreon High Council is headed by our alpha patron, ridiculous Ed Tollett. Drive safe, my man. I know you're on the way home right now. And they also, our High Council also includes Lord John Bronsteen the Wise, Sixto Sounds, aka JP the Axe Grinder, and the lovely Lady Leaf Underhill. And they are supported by the lords and ladies of the realm, including Ryan Stavka, the Russian quartermaster, Reflective Rambling, and Arch-Maester Emma. So thank you, patrons. We love you guys. There's a link to the Patreon down below if you want to be a part of that. That would be awesome. And you'll get a shout out too. I do want to bring up that Mrs. Duncan the Tall, if you're still there, listen up, because this was your birthday idea that I had. We are having a get together here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where I live. It's the second week of January, January the 8th through the 16th. It is called HereBeCon. We have a huge, like, Sleeps 16, very nice, very big Airbnb rented out for 8 days. And a lot of really fantastic people are going to be there, including this person right here, and this person right here, and this person. And did I get her already? Maybe. Nessie's going to be there. Lady Leaf Underhill. Oh, John will be there. This guy right here. Man, my camera's throwing me off. Anyway, Cecilia and her husband hopefully are going to make it. So, yeah, if you want to be a part of that. Now, it ain't free, obviously. Like, if you're going to stay, there's a bit of money to throw in. But, yeah, please, if you're going to. Oh, Guilty Undertaker's going to be there. Maybe I said that already.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we've got a few spots because a few people had to drop out. Oh, yeah. Mom's going to be there. You can meet the real HBD mom. But yeah, we have a few spots open because a few people had to pull out. So if anyone is interested, you just need to let me know. Come for as much or as little of the time as you want. Mrs. Duncan the Tall, if you're listening, she lives in this area too. Fort Worth, I think, which is 20 miles from my house. 15 miles to Dallas, 20 miles to Fort Worth. But yeah, that's your birthday week, and it would be awesome. It's also going to be Kate's birthday while she's there, if she can make it. You Canadians are going to have a harder time. But yeah, so that would be awesome. What else? Don't know what we're doing next week, but the week after that, John, show everybody your hat. Lord of the Rings. Oh, that says The Return of the King. That's not the movie we're going to talk about. But December 19th is the 20th anniversary of Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. So we will be doing a retro review of Fellowship of the Ring on the 19th, and it's going to be awesome. Dan, voice of Geekdom, is going to be there.
Nice.
This guy right here, who was on John's stream last night, he'll be on, and I'm going to reach out to a couple other people who I know are huge Tolkien nerds. So yeah, I might just like kind of look at your stream from yesterday and go, yes, yes, yes. We'll see who's got time to do it. A Sunday night can be a little harder for folks than a Saturday night, though. I'm just saying. But we'll see. We've got the Expanse coverage coming up. We're going to be talking, I think we've got some Witcher talk coming up. Anyway, yeah, lots of good stuff.
I'm sorry. I'm just cracking up at this. Just leave it to Kelly to now be suspicious that she's just going to be summoned at the last minute to a stream.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Kelly's going to be on with us next week. Me and Nessie, right? Right, Kelly?
Or wasn't that Kate? Didn't Kate? Because you guys were talking about doing something Marvel.
Right. Well, I just wanted to tell Kelly that she's coming on because she hasn't been told until now.
Oh, okay.
I also saw Justin from Top Shelf Fandom saying he might want to join. So we'll see. Might have a big panel without John. a real Marvel love fest. Somebody had said Shang-Chi would be a good thing to cover, which I watched it and I thought it was great. Yeah, I can't think of anything else though. What's coming up in the not too distant future on John Webster film though?
So the next thing, I'll be off next week, but the week after that, which I guess will be on the 18th, I'll be having one of my guests from the Dark Crystal stream I did, Sydney, coming back, and we're going to be talking something we've actually talked about right here on Here Be Dragons before, Batman Returns, which we're going to be doing for, sort of a Christmas themed episode. So she's a huge Tim Burton fan, and so we decided on this one.
And this is the woman from the Dark Crystal podcast.
Yeah.
Right.
And after that, like I have some ideas of stuff. I know Aaron and I have talked about doing a stream on Stardust, so that'll be coming down the line in the future. I just don't have anything scheduled yet. Just getting to the end of the year, and then I'll plan out some new stuff.
All right, people showing some love for Shang-Chi in the chat. I guess my mind's made up,
I'm sorry, I have to put this on.
Hold on. I can feel it. I can think of an appropriate film to do. Oh, Potter, that movie is already on the schedule, and you know it. April 1st, 2029. It's a Marvel movie, though. It's actually technically the first ever Marvel movie. Did you know that?
I did.
Yeah.
I've never been bested.
Yep. Still the best, right? God. Okay, anyway, let's talk about Star Wars, all right? Unless there's something else we need to bring up.
No, since we're in the middle, I'm going to do a bit of a show and tell right here. I brought out, I do have my Laserdisc editions.
Laserdisc.
Star Wars trilogy.
Laserdisc, folks. Pre-DVD technology.
Yep.
They look fantastic, though. You've clearly kept them in very good shape.
Yeah. I mean, granted, I'll be completely honest. I didn't get those until, I want to say, when did those... I got them around the time those limited edition DVDs came out that included the originals as bonus material. I think that was somewhere around 2006. So they've been in my possession since then. But still, that's been 15 years. So I think I've kept them in pretty good condition during that time. Yeah,
I think so. And yes, John shows off his physical media. Mark that on your bingo cards.
This is actually an older one. This is my special edition.
Oh, the VHS. Oh my God.
Yeah, which, sorry, you got to give me the chance to turn nerd out about this stuff.
By all means. Show me that Empire Strikes Back one again. That's the film we're actually talking about. I'm gonna God. They got Ian McDermott on the cover. So that was after, again, special edition. So
no. What's interesting is that he wasn't added to the film until the 2004 DVDs. So this is actually a mistake. He should not be on there because the 1997 special edition still had the original version of the Emperor in the movie.
Okay.
So they kind of goofed with the poster design, but I still love it. I think it's a phenomenal design. So,
thanks for coming back, Christine. You say you went to the store, now you're back. There's probably enough time in the stream for you to actually make dinner and still do dishes too. Oh no, that was yesterday's stream. Sorry, that was yesterday's stream. But yeah, got a lot of love for those in the chat there, John. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we get to the best part of this movie, which is Luke on Dagobah? I mean,
and the best puppetry ever done.
Yes, so
like,
good.
Ever.
I mean, I was really struck by that this time too, going, he looks so alive. And there's a scene where he's like digging through Luke's little cabinet thing and he's throwing stuff over his shoulder. And the way they've got him set so that you see his little feet and his butt sticking out, and he's throwing stuff over his shoulder and looks over his shoulder. Yeah, and I'm like, that is a living creature. It really does fool the eye.
You know, mine.
Right.
Oh, R2, let him have it.
Yeah. That scene where he's hitting R2 with the stick in the bad lip reading song Seagulls Stop It Now, that's like the percussion section. You hear like the I don't know, it's like cowbells or something, but the animation.
No, it was just so amazing because obviously they brought the Jim Henson company in, and Frank Oz, was Yoda, and the thing was they had to absolutely nail this perfectly because like this was a big ask for this legendary Jedi master to be a puppet. They really had to sell this, or none of it would have worked.
But as Eric says, full marks. It's Frank Oz who is the puppeteer and the voice. Yeah. But yes, like incredible. One thing that struck me was how old and tired and wise he looks. You see him in a meme or you see him in a GIF online, but to like really watch the movie and have it in its full, HD glory when I'm watching it, I was just, man.
Yeah, I think the
design of that creature is so good.
What I was really struck by today was the subtlety of like what's going on in Yoda's face and the eyes,
the edges of his eyes and stuff, and just the subtle movement of his eyelids, and like his mouth doesn't just open close. He does this thing where he purses his lips and grimaces to one side sometimes, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful
because it's not an easy thing to do. Because one of the sort of chief problems that I think you had when I was trying to get you into watching, for instance, Age of Resistance, was the fact that the Gelfling are very hard to do because their heads are so small. So it's not easy to get to full range of like emotions on their face. You kind of just have to read something into them. That I don't think that was going to be good enough for Yoda because of what they were going to have to, because nobody was going to be going into this except for maybe people who are really into like puppets, but general audiences were not going to do them any favors by like saying like, okay, I don't totally believe it's real, but I'll just try to go with it. That wasn't going to cut it. They needed to give Yoda a full range of emotions so that you bought into the reality of the character. And they achieved that and so much more with him.
Joe S. asked, is there a reason R2-D2 didn't recognize Yoda? And you basically do answer the question yourself. R2-D2's memory was wiped.
No, it wasn't.
No?
C-3PO's memory was wiped. R2's never was. Yeah, the in-universe explanation is that R2 is just keeping quiet about it. But the reality is that, as far as this movie is concerned, they've never met.
Or maybe Yoda's one of those that's like, oh, all you non-droids look the same to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, we had a sort of discussion about this when we did the continuity stream, where I was like, I think people get way too sort of wound up in this. Like, they ended up like crossing paths because it was fun to do from a story perspective later on, but they were not meant to know each other in this film. So yeah,
looks a lot younger in the prequel trilogy. Yoda does.
Yeah, and in some cases, completely different.
R2 may have recognized him, but how is he going to tell Luke? Luke doesn't speak beep boop. Like, he has no way to really translate what R2 is saying to him. Anyway, I digress. Yoda is such an icon, and he delivers so many fantastic lines in this movie. So many. But there's one Yoda line that I really, really don't like, and it's one of his most famous. And it is, try not, do or do not, there is no try. You know what, man? Try is a thing. It is.
It is, but I still like the line.
Sort of like philosophically in context, but often that quote is taken out of context a lot of times, and I don't love it. But everything else that little green goblin says is solid freaking gold. Again, we started off with my favorite quote. Everybody, right now, put your favorite Yoda quote in the chat. John, what's yours? We started with mine. What's your favorite Yoda quote from this movie? From this
movie. Shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of great ones.
So the one you took was
about
not this crude.
And hey, if that's your favorite too, that's legit.
No, it's just so I'm trying to run through the lines in my head to pick out my favorite one. I'm quite fond of. I don't think it's my favorite because I'm just scrambling to think of lines right now.
But I dropped this thing out of nowhere.
But one that I have always really liked because it kind of freaks me out a bit is when when Luke says, "I'm not afraid," and he says, "You will be. You will be."
And that's like so sinister too.
Yeah. But it's like if we were going through like all the films, like I would have immediately jumped to his line in The Last Jedi, which about
we are what they grow beyond.
Yeah, that is the why can't I remember it? It's when the pressure is on that I can't remember the exact lines.
We are what they grow beyond. That is the I don't know the exact quote either, but he's talking about even when you're a teacher, you still have things to learn, and one of the hardest is that eventually your students will surpass you.
I want to look that up because I love that line so much. Here it is.
Yeah, that's another good one.
Okay, listen to me not, did you? Pass on what you have learned. Strength, mastery, but weakness, folly, failure also. Yes, failure most of all. The greatest teacher failure is. Luke, we are what they grow beyond. That is the true burden of all masters. I don't care what you think of The Last Jedi overall. That scene is freaking great. And that Yoda dialogue is top notch. It's one of my favorite bits of the entire saga.
Yeah. By the way, Potter, quoting Siegel's "Stop It Now" from Bad Lip Reading, one of the BLR songs. So good. That log had a child. Anyway. I'm sorry. Great lines in the chat too, and this who knew that this little green puppet would take over the world the way he did? And another thing, as we see later in The Mandalorian, where we get a Grogu, baby Yoda.
Well, the fact that like that alone, like because You remember what the conversation was like before that reveal, where people were extremely doubtful whether The Mandalorian as a show was even going to work, because who wants to do general Star Wars fans even care about what a Mandalorian is, or bounty hunters, or how is this possibly going to draw a mass audience in? And then nobody was asking that after the reveal of, at the time, Baby Yoda, because it was just such a master stroke, and everybody was just in love with the show after that, and in love with this little green guy, and they had new gifts each week, of him doing the latest, most adorable thing. So that's how much people love Yoda.
That they were super excuse me, I had a mini meltdown in that moment when that was revealed. He's a fantastic character, and Star Wars wouldn't be Star Wars without him. Although for 3 years it totally was.
Yeah, but Star Wars as a thing is constantly evolving. We see that with every new iteration of it, because I've talked about this in the past. There's a part of me that cherishes that memory of Star Wars when it was a trilogy and 3 movies about Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and Han Solo. And then in 1999 the prequels came in, and Star Wars sort of became something else at that point. And same thing when we entered the Disney era. So it's it's a franchise, and it's a story that keeps changing as more and more is added to it. But personally, I do go back to that time, around 97, when the special editions were out, and I remember going on the old version of the Star Tours ride, and classic Star Wars. That's sort of my favorite period of being a Star Wars fan. But then the things keep changing, so it is what it is.
I think this is a good question, by the way, from Dan. Would you like to see more of a backstory for Yoda's species, or should it remain a mystery? I personally would like to know a little bit more. It doesn't need the whole full-length Wikipedia entry that some races have, like Rhodians or what have you. But I would like to know a little bit more. Part of the problem with some of the Star Wars extended lore is that you do know too much. They go too far into trying to explain everything. But, yeah. I was going to say something about this section too. Oh, yes. The part of this film that I understood the least as a child, and maybe I understand much, much, much better as an adult, is the whole Luke goes to the dark side cave, basically.
Yeah.
In the swamp. Just confused me as a child. I could tell it was scary. Oh no, it's Darth Vader. Why is that Luke's face? Okay, on to the next thing. But now from a symbolic and visual storytelling standpoint, that movie or that scene is masterfully done. And it's not shot in a higher frame rate, but it is played back at a lower frame rate, so that you have the sort of stutter stop effect almost.
Yeah.
Which makes it feel weird and disjointed visually, which is a great effect, because obviously it's happening much slower than normal. It feels like slow-mo, but it doesn't feel like normal slow-mo, because normal slow-mo is achieved by a very high frame rate, and this doesn't feel like a very high frame rate. It feels like
it's choppy in a way. Yeah.
And it feels disorienting, which is from a filmmaking standpoint, really good.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to remember because like I said, I don't ever remember not knowing that Vader was Luke's father. So when I like my memory of watching the scene as a kid was that I took it very literally uh that when Luke cuts off Vader or this vision of Vader's head off and his face is there. When I was little, I took that as a literal. This is because it's his dad, and that's the most literal you know sort of analysis of that. But then as I got older, I started to realize no, it's not so much saying anything about who Vader is. It's about who Luke is, who he may become if he continues down a dark path.
Who he fears he's going to become. And like there is in that moment when he goes into the cave, Yoda says, you don't need your weapons. Luke's like, I'm just gonna take him anyway. And goes in there and he sees Vader. Luke lights up his lightsaber first.
Yeah.
He takes the position of aggression in that moment. And in so doing, inserts himself into that dark side character, which is why his face is behind that mask, because he is still battling with that dark side part of him. Anyway, I think it's beautifully done.
And something else that I actually, while we're talking about the dark side, what I really liked about going back to this film was that I feel like for a long time now in Star Wars media, like a lot is made of the fact that, if you give into your anger and fear and all that leads to the dark side. But what's really highlighted in this film that I feel like I haven't heard of it as much in later stuff is the fact that the dark side is the quick and easy path.
Mm-hmm.
And that rings really true to anybody watching this, like this idea of don't take the easy path in life. The struggle is good, struggling to whether that's overcoming odds or in a struggle in trying to achieve what you want to achieve in life. There may be an easier, quicker path, but it might not be the right path.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like that is an element of like why the dark side is something to steer clear of and why it would be tempting. It's not something that you just succumb to because you give into your evil nature, but it's also seductive because of how much easier a path it is.
Right. It's just down to like there's a perfect quote right before Luke leaves. And he's like, and I'm supposed to just abandon my friends and let them die. And Yoda says, if you honor what they fight for, yes. Because the path you're choosing is a dark side path. It is not going to lead to the outcome you're looking for. And Yoda can foresee that. He doesn't know the future, but he can foresee the outcome of things.
Yeah.
And he knows that, if you go, you're playing into Vader's hands. Anyway, good stuff.
It's great.
I love me some Yoda. I love Dagobah. That bit of this film is my favorite part. Except for maybe like the tail end of the very last 8 minutes of the movie or something. But yeah, this feels like in the hero's journey, that true, the cave is literally the journey through the underworld, and the training with the master. Yes, a lot of that happens in the first film as well, but in this one he really gets a lot of time with that mentor figure. He didn't have a whole lot of time to learn stuff from Obi-Wan, but there is a sense that he does have a good bit of time with Yoda on Dagobah to learn stuff.
Of course, and then we can we could get into the conversation of like, how long exactly is he on Dagobah?
Right.
We can say
It's unclear.
We can say maybe time slows down on Dagobah.
Sure.
But yeah, let's move on to the the last sort of act, because Han and Leia have arrived on
right. Okay. Yeah.
on,
Yeah. Let's go to Bespin.
Yeah, and like, I'm not saying anything revolutionary here, but oh my god, how great is Billy Dee Williams?
I mean, it depends on the scale you're using, but like, yeah, fantastic, so good, just so charming.
Yeah, I just love his whole interaction with Han. Of course, the downside is he is actually going to have to betray them, so he's not he's actually not trustworthy in this moment. But I just love their whole introduction where he's playing it up like, you got a lot of guts coming here after what you pulled, and then gets ready like he's gonna engage in a fist fight, and then hugs him as a little. But again, like I said, he's actually
that whole time
he's actually deceiving him.
He's already made the deal with Vader at that point.
Yeah.
So he's just trying to play it up to throw off the scent for now.
Yeah.
I don't know why they wait so long, other than just so we can really have an awesome Darth Vader entrance on Bespin.
I'm sorry, but then also, the chicken's Boba Fett.
Sorry. Was on Zoom the other day and brought up the Family Guy, the chicken and Family Guy, and people were like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Oh, just you wait. Let me show you this video."
Oh God, but no, yeah, it's like, why do they wait so long? It's like, just to I don't know, just to be an asshole, I guess.
Right. Well, and I will say, like, Lando says they arrived just before you did. He might be talking about an Imperial representative being Boba Fett, and then Vader and everybody else probably arrived after.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like Boba Fett's following them. They couldn't have actually known what their actual destination was until they arrived there, unless Boba could have gone a little bit ahead once it became obvious. But yeah.
But we get couple really cool force powers in that scene, like the energy absorption from Vader. It's not something you see very often in Star Wars. I wonder how much of that is force and how much of that is robot hand.
I'd say force based on the shit that we see in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Because that's when we finally get to see like Vader fully unleashed.
Oh, sorry. Been doing a lot.
Yeah, that is a really great moment in Kelly, because that
disintegrations.
Yeah, that hints at a past where
something pretty dark.
Yeah.
But
and that's what I'd say, like, side note, that's something that I love so much about like the original films, is that you get moments like that, and you get like in the first one where Obi-Wan, well, actually, I think it's Luke, references the Clone Wars. He says, "You fought in the Clone Wars," and stuff like that. Like, there's things mentioned that leave your mind to wander and think about, things that have happened that are outside of the immediate story. And I've always loved that kind of storytelling. It's very tantalizing.
No disintegrations. Does that mean there were disintegrations in the past? Yeah, and I mean, if you want to take any, like, Din Djarin is inspired a lot, obviously, by Boba Fett, and he's disintegrating fools with that with a rifle of his, which was originally Boba Fett's rifle from the Star Wars Holiday Special, where he made his first appearance. Yes, Boba Fett was in something before he was in Empire Strikes Back. He was in that fantastic Star Wars Holiday Special. If you haven't seen
Yeah.
it, just it's on YouTube. Go look it up. It's
And like, honestly, I cannot believe that even that part of the holiday special has been officially put somewhere by Lucasfilm. Like, that's a freaking miracle right there. Because anything associated with the holiday special for so long was like, what are you talking about? I don't know what that is. What?
What is Chewbacca's dad watching VR porn? That's part of the holiday special.
Like, I've never made it like all the way through that damn thing.
I have. It's not good.
I mean, I've seen that part, and I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Guilty Undertaker. He's pretty vocal about hating its existence, and I understand it's not good. But let's all right. Let's turn it back to Bespin. Turn the ship around.
So
to Bespin.
So eventually, this is all leading to the big scene of Han being frozen in carbonite.
I love you. I know.
And the fact that wasn't originally scripted,
an improvised line.
That's so brilliant because because you were talking about earlier about how the "No, I am your father" kind of makes the film. I think another moment, though not as earth shattering as that, but another big moment is the "I know" part because it's something that you don't really, I mean, we expect it because we've seen it a million times, but like, you don't really expect that response, but it is such a Han thing to say. Like, it is so perfectly in character.
And it really does, like, the callback to it from Return of the Jedi is also just so good.
Yeah.
When the roles are switched and he's like, I love you. And she's like, I know.
Yeah.
That she's got the gun and ready to go. Yeah, it's just, what a great line. One of the all-time great improvised lines.
Because the thing is, there's really nothing worse than when you're sort of enjoying a movie and then it comes to like a forced romantic gesture, like if he had said, I love you back, it really wouldn't have rang true to Han. Like, and so, but his response is just so utterly perfect that it nails the moment and just makes it a classic.
Mm-hmm.
And then that carries you through the rest of the scene, and like, it's so brilliantly done with the way Leia's sort of looking in horror as Han's being frozen, the way Chewbacca roars, and the music and everything. And then, like, after the freezing happened, like, you've got the steam and stuff, and Vader's face is like peering through.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, everything about it is brilliant.
The lighting in the carbonite chamber is also really interesting. The way it creates shadows on the people's faces, or like it creates a lot of silhouette. Because actually, this is not from the carbonite scene.
No,
this one, because it's like more orangey in color.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is just, George Lucas is a great world builder. Irving Kershner is a very good director. ILM, nobody needs to explain how good Industrial Light and Magic is at what they do. And this was just, after the success of Star Wars, they really wanted to to do something. They wanted to come back and do something special, and they just nailed it. The lightsaber fight in this between Luke and Vader is just leaps and bounds ahead of anything that was in the first film.
Yeah. Just the dialogue between the two of them like is so good. So even like the choreography is fantastic, but it's sort of the sort of beats between them. You know, I just love that when Luke comes into the room and then the room lights up and you hear like, you know, the sound effects and combined with Vader's breathing, and he's like, the Force is with you, young Skywalker, but you are not a Jedi yet. It's just perfect.
Can I tell you that, like, I think I said half of the quotes in my rewatch. I think I said half the quotes in the film, like down to the vocal inflection and timing as they were being said. I've seen this movie so many times that even after not having seen it for a few years, I was just boom, boom, boom. Every it's just so good. I'm gonna say that again before we're done. But yeah, the lightsaber fight. I'm gonna spend some time talking about my read on the lightsaber fight. Luke is clearly outclassed the whole time. And Vader knows he's got Luke easily outclassed, but maybe not quite as much as he thinks he does. Luke gets a decent shot in here and there. Like he gets the one where he kicks Vader down the stairs. And
yeah, there's a line that
I shoulder at one point a little bit, but Luke is fighting to kill Vader. Vader is fighting to wear Luke out.
Yeah, there's a line that I've always liked, even though it sort of demonstrates that Luke is showing a bit too much bravado for like he doesn't realize how outmatched he is. But the line is when Vader says, "You have learned much, young one," and he says, "You'll find I'm full of surprises." Mm-hmm. You know, it is a great line delivery and a great moment for Luke, but it's like I said, it's showing that he thinks he has a bit too much arrogance for his skill level at this point. So
yeah, Guilty Undertaker says was Vader perhaps conflicted about killing his son? I think he was there to capture. I mean, the whole carbonite thing was so that he could capture Luke. He's not trying to kill Luke.
Yeah.
I don't think that was ever part of his thought process. But he's got to fight Luke because Luke's coming at him with a lightsaber, but he never had a chance.
Yeah, that's a very Anakin line.
Which one exactly? I'm sorry.
You'll find I'm full of surprises.
Oh yeah,
that's
you're
very
right.
Anakin.
But if you look at the fight between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan in Episode 4, and then you watch Darth Vader versus Luke Skywalker in this film, it's night and day. It's not even close. Some of that is Alec Guinness's age and the limitations that they had at the time, but like they were literally inventing the lightsaber during that fight. But this fight between Vader and Luke, it's all over the place. It feels way more physical. It's not just two guys with sticks swatting at each other. There's verticality to the fight where they move up and down, and there's changes in the pace. And Mary, you are correct. The best movie.
Yeah, I mean that's why I've always said I prefer to look at these movies, by the year that they came out rather than restructuring them, because the lightsaber fights are like a prime example of why, because they were starting off in the first Star Wars with developing what a lightsaber fight was, and for like what they're trying to achieve in that movie, that it's it's a very personal fight where it's about the emotions of what they're bringing to it. So it's not supposed to be like an exercise in acrobatics or anything. But it is figuring it out. I mean, to the point that as far as like the lightsaber effects, like there's even a shot where it looks like Obi-Wan's lightsaber shorts out, and you see the the stick or whatever it is. So like it's the very beginning. It's you can't expect it to be Duel of the Fates, basically.
Right, of course. Well, and the thing is, you get to the prequel era, and I'm not trying to crap on the prequels. There's a lot to love there, but some of that more acrobatic, twirly stuff with the lightsabers gets a little bit over the top sometimes. But I feel like this lightsaber fight, it still feels weighty, like Potter is saying. Most of the time, they're two-fisting that lightsaber to get it to go where they want it to go, but it doesn't. But they still feel like it's not two old men poking at each other the way Episode 4 could feel like sometimes.
I will say my favorite like lightsaber battle moment is still Return of the Jedi, the final sort of bout between Luke and Vader, because you got the John Williams music, which is that choral music.
Oh yeah, Duel of the Fates.
No, not Duel of the Fates. In Return of the Jedi.
In Return of the Jedi. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's that final. It's that final exchange between the two of them, and it's almost like a religious hymn that's being sung behind their fighting. It's after Luke.
I can't even pull it up now. I've got only the choral part of Duel of Fates in my head.
Okay, but it's after Vader says, "If you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will." No, and that whole thing for me, that's like my absolute favorite scene of lightsaber fighting, because there's so much emotion.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot in this too.
Yeah,
there's a lot of emotion in this fight, because he believes he's fighting to save Han and Leia. He's fighting to avenge Obi-Wan. He's got a lot of personal stakes in this. Although, as you say, even more in the Return of the Jedi fight.
Yeah,
because in Return of the Jedi, he's got all of this baggage that he already has, plus a whole other movie's worth of plot development.
Yeah. But no, the whole fight is great, because then you've got the section where Vader is using the Force to just hit him with every single thing he can find in the room, and then Luke goes flying out the window.
Telekinesis was not a Force power before this movie. But they really put it to use quite a few times. Luke picking up his dropped lightsaber both in the Wampa Cave and at one point during this.
Which that was an observation that I made that I don't know that I've ever made before, which was that's showing his like progression over the film with his training, because he really struggles in the Wampa Cave to call his lightsaber to him,
like he has to stop and focus himself.
And then by this fight, he's able to do it just by reaching out to it. So, yeah.
Yeah, quick and easy and in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what that good Yoda training will get you.
Yeah. And then there's the scene.
Yeah, the scene. And just we get a rare glimpse of a safety rail in Star Wars. Although not the whole thing is railed off, but there is like a safety railing over much of that catwalk, which, as I say, is a rare thing in a Star Wars movie. It's become such a meme, and it's been parodied so many times. We talked about it earlier, but the "No, I am your father" is just, it's one of the biggest twists in cinematic history. There's a reason it's so legendary. Like it ranks up there with legendary twists like I See Dead People and What's Up and whatnot. Because people just didn't see it coming. Because Obi-Wan, our friend and good guy, told us that the evil bad guy murdered Luke's father. Why would we have any reason to doubt him? And then we get that whole certain point of view thing, which just plays right into the, late stage Jedi problems that we explore in the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, I have to say, I got a lot of very nostalgic feelings watching this movie today, because what I was saying earlier about the fact that I'm very fond of the time in Star Wars fandom where Star Wars was Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when I got to this scene, I remembered what this moment meant to me when, like, this was the reveal. That's changed, especially I imagine for younger fans in the years since, because now we have the prequels that tell the story of Anakin's fall, and there's the Clone Wars and all this other material. So for people who are coming to the saga, with fresh eyes, and they're probably watching them in, episodic order. But back when it was just these three movies, I feel like the power that this moment had, like, cannot be understated.
I mean, hard agree.
Or overstated.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those. Cannot be overstated.
It cannot be stated too much.
Yeah,
I'm following you. I absolutely agree.
It's just like, just watch leading up to this moment and just, holding in your breath and then hearing, "No, I am your father."
And it's in a moment where Luke, like, his voice is so ragged. He's just lost his hand. He's over an infinite drop with nowhere to go, feeling like he's absolutely failed in the moment, and then to have that, like, the rug ripped out from under him with the idea of, you can't avenge your dad because you can't avenge your dad by killing me, because guess what? He's me. It's which is why that anguished no scream. I mean, it almost feels like overacting from Mark Hamill if you just look at it from the outside. But if you really put yourself in his shoes, it really is probably the last straw, and it just pushes him over the edge, which is why he just jumps.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I cannot join you. It goes so against everything I believe in. Which circles back to what Yoda was saying. If you go now, you're not going to succeed. Because guess what? He didn't save Han. Lost his hand to Vader. He kind of got beat up and barely made it out alive. And the same goes for his friends that he was trying to save. And they might have been able to save themselves without Luke being there, because Lando did turn around and help.
Yeah, no, he didn't. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could stretch an argument that, he does cause, like, a minor distraction from him, but I imagine Lando's plan would have been the same, and that he still would have maneuvered, their freedom. So, like, in my opinion, Luke did absolutely nothing to help them out of their situation. So, it's basically they save him, at the end. Like, he's the one in need of rescuing. So,
yep.
Yeah.
And they do kind of, like, foreshadow the brother-sister thing right there at the end where he calls out to her, and
Yeah,
he's
it's
able, because like the only people he can reach out to are our father, and then who we later find out is sister.
yeah, I do wonder what the original notion behind that was, because as I've said before, I don't think that was really the plan as of this movie, but in retrospect, it works really well.
It does. Like retroactive continuity is fine. It's not really a retcon if you just hadn't established it yet.
Yeah.
um,
But yeah, and also I want to say, like, referencing The Last Jedi, and I like the fact that there's some dissolves that are some fades that are used between Luke and Leia, um, that are then repeated between Ben and Leia in The Last Jedi. So I like that kind of visual continuity.
you mentioned it briefly earlier. I'll bring it up again because it becomes very clear here. C3PO is fantastic in this movie. Like it's peak 3PO the whole film. It's just like when he's on Chewbacca's back and he's complaining that he can't see and like turn around. I want to. Oh, he should be fine if he survives.
You have a responsibility to me, Chewbacca, so don't do anything foolish.
Right. I'm not ready to die. You know, it's just Anthony Daniels is a treasure, and just 3PO is so much fun.
There's another bit where
annoying is all get out. Don't get me wrong, but he's supposed to be that, and just his delivery is so great. I love 3PO in this movie.
There's also a bit where like R2D2 gets like electrocuted, and he's like, "Don't look at me. I'm not supposed to know the difference between a power socket and a computer terminal."
Right.
No, it's great.
Right. I'm a bit surprised R2 made that mistake.
Yeah, but what you were saying about 3PO can be annoying, but the difference between say this and, for example, Attack of the Clones is that like it's all done very well, so that yes, 3PO is an inherent supposed to be annoying to the people around him, but like in these movies and particularly this film, it's just absolutely hilarious. It hits all the right notes, and plus it also helps that he's not like making poorly executed modern references, like in certain other Star Wars films.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to make sure that I cover. Chatters. Is there anything we haven't talked about in the last two hours that we should? John, is there something we haven't talked about? We have heaped praise on the score.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I was going to mention the score one more time, just for the final shots of the film, where you know it goes to where Lando and Chewbacca are, you know, flying off in the Falcon, and which, by the way, I love that in Family Guy they make the joke of, you know, why is Lando wearing Han's clothes? But I love that. Then it has the shot of, you know, Luke, Leia, R2, and 3PO standing there, and it just, and they give everything over to the score, you know, and it's such a soaring romantic, you know, piece of music, and as it pulls out with the ships and stuff, I just feel like
God, I love that. Like
I just feel like you don't get that in movies. You don't get that in movies anymore, where it's like everything is given over to, let's just pull the camera out and give it all over to the music. And
yeah, well, if I had John Williams scoring my movie, I'd probably do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird to think about how much of a downer this movie ends on. You know, Luke kind of Luke got his hand cut off, got beat up by Darth Vader, barely made it out alive. We lost Han. Lando's lost Bespin. He can't go back there.
Yeah, so it's like
it's kind of a downer the way this movie ends, but
it's the cliffhanger of all cliffhangers.
Yeah. There's a reason that people talk about a dark sophomore episode as being the Empire Strikes Back of whatever they're talking about. Because this movie set the standard for it. And it holds true even now. Like it's still fantastic. Again, watched it today. Just fell in love all over again. And I'm not surprised.
Yeah, no, it's every time I'm in danger of forgetting how much Star Wars means to me, I turn on like one of the original films in particular, and this one especially. Like it just reminds me of why I've been in love with this since I was a little kid. I mean, like I've said that I became a major fan around like 96, 97 when the special editions came out, but honestly, I knew what Star Wars was before that. I have memories of watching the movies on TV when I was a very, very small kid. So even if I wasn't like the uber fan that I became when I, was a teenager, like it's always been part of my life. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, I don't remember not knowing what Star Wars is.
Yeah.
I remember being Boba Fett for Halloween when I was 5 years old, ? Something like that. 4 or 5. Well, Boba Fett, I might have been like 6, just based on when the film came out. But still. And I was super excited about it.
I will say, I remember, going back to like early memories that I actually have, I remember being a little kid and I guess I was watching TV and I saw an HBO commercial for Return of the Jedi. And like for some reason that has stuck in my head and that was probably like when it couldn't have been like its first run on HBO because that movie came out in 83 and I was born in 84. I'm not sure how quickly stuff came to HBO back then, but but still, I had to be really young, mm-hmm. And so that's a very early memory. But yeah, it's point being, it's been with me since I was a very, very young one, and I kind of love that. It's the thing that's an absolute mainstay of my life. It's always been there.
Well, and I imagine most people in the chat, like, it's not even, Star Wars is not even pop culture anymore. It has become so ubiquitous. It is not pop culture. It is simply part of our culture now.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows if you hold a stick and you go, whoa, whoa, you're pretending to hold a lightsaber. It's just people know Yoda on site, Darth Vader on site. People who have never seen these movies know Darth Vader, and they know and I really feel like it's this film that took it from I think this is the best one of them. A lot of people agree with me. Not everyone thinks this is the best of all Star Wars movies, and that's fine. People will gravitate towards different things for their own personal reasons. This one is mine. I'll know a lot of people agree with me. And this is the real Star Wars to me. And it doesn't get any better, any purer Star Wars. This is the hero's journey, not just for Luke, but for Han, for Leia. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. There's nothing I would change. Yeah, there is. There are a couple of things I would change. I think I would hire some more women to be background actors. But again, 80s, I can nitpick it and I will, and I think it's right to do so. But then I'll move on from that. Um,
Yeah,
no,
I will say I want to, as far as having old recorded videotapes of these movies, like, you guys know the kind of person I am. I had my first copies of these movies recorded off of television. um I think I remember that I had, like, Empire and Return of the Jedi were recorded off of, like, premium cable channels like HBO or whatever, and Star Wars I had recorded off of, I want to say something like TBS or USA, because it had commercial breaks.
mm-hmm.
And
Mm,
and
hurts my
I
heart.
had yeah, and I actually made my own, like, uh box cover art, where I took, like, when you buy, VHS tapes, they come in, like, this sort of standard cases.
Right.
I basically stapled two of them together, and then, like, cut out a bunch of, like, magazine pictures of Star Wars images and the title and stuff, and then I took, like, that glossy clear tape and, like, taped all the stuff on there and made my own box cover. And that was my proud edition of the Star Wars trilogy for a number of years, until this, uh, until the when I finally did get the special edition box set. But yeah, that was a thing that little me did. I was always designing my own cover art, because that was back in the day when VHS tapes, like, for movies that just came out, they were super expensive.
Yeah, like $60 in the 80s.
Yeah, so I was mostly, like, new movies that I was interested in. I was always recording off of, like, pay-per-view.
Right. An enemy spy says that that was an issue in later Star Wars films, that the actors would make their own sound effects for lightsabers. I'm sure I would have too, or been like pew pew pew. If I had a laser. I know. Oh gosh, Holdo. What's that actress's name that played Holdo?
Uh, I know
Laura
it.
Dern. Laura Dern said that
Laura
she
Dern,
did
yeah.
that. She did that in the scenes where she had a laser pistol and was shooting. She was making. They had to do her first take. She was making pew pew noises.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think there's anything else that should be more representative of the effect that Star Wars has had on all of us. That,
Hmm.
and you're holding a laser gun, or holding a lightsaber, making the sound effects. Like, it's
Yeah,
just a natural
it,
thing
it
that
is.
we do.
It is so big that English royalty will be in a mask, so you can't even tell it's them. Like Prince Harry and William are both in Star Wars sequel trilogy. Sam Jackson couldn't wait to get in on that action in the prequel trilogy. It really has, like, taken over the world in a certain way. Everybody knows this story, and this specific film is a big, big part of why.
Yeah.
Okay, I could go on, but I think I'm just going to be repeating myself saying I love this movie.
Yeah, I adore it. And one thing that really I was reminded of today was is how much, as a kid and even now as an adult, I completely idolized and loved Luke Skywalker. Um,
Still
just
do, still
yeah,
do. He is my hero. He will always be my hero. Thank God Mark Hamill is also a fantastic human being.
yeah. I mean, you could not ask for him to be a nicer guy. I'm very happy that I had the privilege about 10 years ago when I was at Celebration to get to watch one of his his, I guess you call it a panel. And then also I got to have his autograph, even though, like, obviously with the lines for Mark Hamill, you can't hope to have any kind of meaningful exchange with him. But it was still nice to shake his hand.
Right. Like, I've said it before, if I ever met him, I would probably just literally weep. But he's my hero. Like, he is my celebrity crush, if you will. Yeah, love him. All right, y'all. I think that's it. We've got to cut it off somewhere. Something has to be the last thing said. So yeah, go watch you some Star Wars, y'all. We haven't done the original movie Star Wars or Return of the Jedi. It was my birthday, so I just picked my favorite one, and we took the middle of the original trilogy because it's my favorite. But if you want us to do the other ones, let me know. It'll be a little while before we can get to it, but if that's something you feel like we really should do, let me know.
Yeah, no, this was a joy because I know I was toying with doing the original Star Wars last year, but then a whole bunch of stuff came up and it just didn't happen. I think I was going to do it on the anniversary of the film's release, but so I haven't gotten to do like any classic Star Wars stuff. So this was just a total joy. So I'm really glad you decided on this, Stephen. And once again, very happy birthday to you.
Oh, I love you, my man. Thank you very much. Yeah, and everybody who was here, we had great turnout today. Still got 25 people watching. We're up over 30 at one point. Thank you all for joining me on my birthday. I had a blast. If anybody wants to hang out, I'm probably going to go grab a quick bite to eat, and then I'll be jumping on Zoom to hang out with everyone on Zoom. If you guys want to come hang out on Zoom, those of you who are in our Slack group already know how to find that. Yeah, I'll be there shortly. Like I say, probably going to go to the restroom, going to grab a quick bite to eat, and then I'll be on. So give me 10-ish minutes, maybe 15, and I'll be in the Zoom. John, think you might join us at least for a little while?
I have a prior engagement.
Oh, that's right. You have a family phone call to make.
But I don't like judging by how long our Zoom calls usually go.
You might show up eventually.
Yeah, I think I'll probably finish up my conversation and then still be able to show up to hang out with you guys. So.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, yeah. So come back next week for me and Nessie. No John. John's going to be visiting friends in Orlando and going to, believe it or not, a Star Wars themed excursion. Going to go check out Galaxy's Edge in Orlando. I'm super jealous. I hope you have a blast.
I will take lots of pictures to make you even more jealous, Stephen.
Right. Yeah, please do share the pictures. I mean, I'll understand if you wait till like the end of the day or whatever and just do like a massive drop of 47 Star Wars pictures. But yeah, cool. Have a good time. Enjoy your weekend off. Next week, I think it's going to be me and Nessie and maybe Justin from Top Shelf Fandom and maybe Kate and maybe Kelly if I can talk her into it. For some Shang-Chi action, I think we'll be watching Shang-Chi. And then the week after that, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. And then
which I just realized that Nessie isn't going to be joining us for that one. She'll be joining you next week when I won't be here. So Nessie, if you're watching this, I love you, and I hate that we keep seeming to pass each other by, although we did get to do a stream last week. But I love you, sister. I hope you guys have a fun time next week.
Right. Yeah. Nerf herders unite. Nerd herders. Come to the nerd sign. We have dragons and stuff. So, John, you were great as always. Chatters, love you guys. Thanks for hanging out. just announced that Kelly will be on. Yeah, Kelly will be on. TBD. But yeah, I bet she will actually. Kelly's cool like that. Hey, who's scruffy looking? Not me. Actually, I'm pretty scruffy looking right now.
John, if he isn't, I definitely am not. So
right. Anyway, I love you guys. I'll see you all over in the Zoom hangout here, quote unquote, soon. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with us. And until next time, you know what it is. Peace and be excellent to each other.